What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? We are live. We are here in the Ground Sound Studio in Columbus, Ohio. My name is Jesse Alley, and I will be here with Samanta Liza soon. As she makes her way in here, we will be interviewing her on her up and coming debut album being released this Friday, July 8th, with, excuse me, with Days of E.N.D. And we are super excited. I've been listening to it a little bit today. Super ready to get down and meet Samantha and really talk to her about what were some inspirations on this album. What was maybe her favorite song? What was the one that she wanted to work on the most, that she had a lot of fun with? I'm guessing almost all of them, but let's see what she has to say when she gets in here. We're ready to go. It's a little bit rainy here in Columbus today, and we're ready to go. We're kicking, we're rolling, and I think I got Samantha in here. Let me see if I can get her in here really quick. And boom, boom. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for joining and getting ready for this. Here we go. Hey, this is Samantha. Hello. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I am doing great, and I need to turn you up because I cannot hear you that well. All right. Hello.
Sorry.
Hey. No, that's not your fault. It's all me right there. I gotta be a little bit more prepped and prepared. But the singer, the songwriter, the composer, the DJ, the producer, the multi-instrumentalist. I believe, if I'm correct, it is 6 different countries that she has lived in. Samanta Liza, welcome. We are so happy to have you here. How are you today?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that warm welcome. I'm doing really well.
Yeah.
It's a nice and sunny day in New York. I found a spot in the park.
Yeah. It looks a lot better than Columbus, Ohio right now. It is raining. It is awful. It's ucky. It's like gray. It's not great. So super jealous of the weather you have right now.
I'm sorry about that. I'll be sending some sunshine from New York.
There, yeah. Let's spread the sunshine. Let's spread it around, please. Columbus needs it right now. But first thing we got to get into, obviously, your debut album coming out this Friday, July 8th, Days of E.N.D. My first question, how excited are you for this?
I'm very excited. I can't believe that the date is here, already. I remember, kind of finishing all of the masters a while ago, now, and being like, oh, I'm gonna have to wait so long for this date to arrive, and now it just sort of feels like it's here already really quickly. So yeah, I'm excited.
All right, what is probably the one thing that you're most excited for this Friday?
I'm really excited to get this whole kind of narrative out there. I think for me, you mentioned all the different things that I do. And, the one thing I've been doing a lot around the city and around, a few different states as well is DJing. But I, kind of started my music passion as more of a singer-songwriter. I used to, spend a lot of time writing more like indie music, and so for me to put this full-length album out there that showcases kind of all of the different things that I like, from electronic dance music to slower, more kind of indie, softer sort of like pop music. I'm really excited to see just what people think about it, and also nervous, but hopefully they like it. Yeah.
Well, you already kind of brought this up with the DJ. I wanted to ask you, being so multi-talented and kind of spread all across the music scene, honestly, with your singing, your songwriting, being a DJ, being a composer, a producer, all that. What with the DJ, how is that kind of creating your own music and stuff, but still going out there and kind of like playing at these clubs and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's super fun because, playing at clubs and being able to do what I kind of call like live hybrid sets, where I show up basically with my USB and I'm DJing, but I'm also able to play my songs, and then I plug in my mic and I bring, a drum or whatever instrument I'm feeling that day. And being able to perform my songs that way is really awesome because it's a lot easier than doing, what is kind of the traditional full band setup at a concert venue, which, don't get me wrong, love that, would love to do more of that as well. But, I'm able to share my music around the city pretty easily. And whenever I start singing on top of, my DJ sets, people are usually kind of pleasantly surprised. And I usually get a lot of great feedback that way. So, it's been great. Also, I do that to sort of test out songs. So sometimes, you know, I'm not even done with a song and I'll like perform it, and then I'll see, you know, what the reaction on the dance floor is. And then based on that, I can kind of take that back into the studio and fine tune, you know, things based on the reaction. So it's a really cool way of getting feedback early on in the writing process.
That's really cool and awesome, honestly, to kind of get kind of almost a preview of how the song is going to do and how people are going to react to it, and the fact that you're going on these DJ gigs and I'm also kind of adding the twist of, oh, by the way, I'm going to sing during this. Oh, I have my own music that I'm performing. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to play the drums right now. Like
Yeah.
that's just really cool, and definitely probably a completely different experience when somebody sees a typical DJ come into an event.
Yeah, and it's been really nice too, because you know I'll get sort of gig requests that are looking specifically for a DJ who can combine live elements. So I've found, you know, success through that as well. It's one of those things I think that's kind of happening more and more. You know, I do kind of spot different artists around the city as well, and you know, internationally too, who are adding in those, you know, live elements to their DJ sets. So I think it's super cool to kind of see, you know, electronic music merging a little bit more with, you know, sort of band style, you know, instruments.
Oh yeah, the thing I've kind it's almost kind of like seen this growth with EDM, especially, and
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of people more not only doing bass beats and rhythm, a lot of actual like lyrics and actually tying in with a singer or a fellow songwriter to kind of dab into this. Especially, I mean, being a big fan of like that classic rock, I've seen a lot of performances of going back to this. I've even heard a Nirvana, I've heard some Led Zeppelin, even tying that in. That to me is like super, super cool
Yeah.
to go back into that. But so I kind of wanted to ask you about, like, I really had two specific songs that I really wanted to ask you about for this
Okay.
run-in. So for anybody else that's watching right now, I got a little sneak peek of it, but I was super excited about, like you already brought up, the kind of softer indie rock type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So We Are One
Mm-hmm.
was the one that I immediately like strung to, and I think I listened to that about 4 or 5
Nice.
times this morning, honestly. But I
Amazing.
wanted to ask you about the kind of the differences in those songs that you have created. So with the We Are One, I was very interested and drawn to this calmness, the easiness of the rhythm of it, and
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask you, going into, what were some inspirations of that single, and kind of what made you want to go into that kind of slow down type of run?
Yeah, you know, it's kind of funny how that song came together. Also, it is one of my personal favorites, so I'm so, you know,
Uh,
happy to hear that, you know, you really like that song. That means a lot to me. The song, you know, has a couple of different inspirations, really. Like lyrically and story wise, it was based off of you know, this person that I met who is just so creative and so amazing. And you know, I really felt that person's energy and felt really inspired to write something that, you know, it's not like I'm writing specifically about their story, you know, in any specific type of way, because you know, as I listen to the song, even now, I can think of different experiences that I've had that I can relate to that story. Um, but this person just really touched me and gave me that vibe, and I really wanted to write something to it. And so that's kind of like lyrically what happened there. In terms of the, you know, the instrumentals and the melody and the rhythm, I was sitting in my room where my apartment, which is a studio. Basically, my apartment is like a studio with a bed in the corner. And I was sitting there with an old friend of mine from college who also lives in the building, and she really loves indie, and you know, was kind of encouraging me to explore more of that side of me. You know, she used to hang out with me in college when I used to write more sort of indie songs, and you know, she was kind of being there with her made me want to lean into that side more. And so I just started playing on the bass guitar, and she's like, oh, that's really nice, like, and she just felt really calm from it, and I did too. And so I kind of just ran with that calm mood and wanted to stick to that throughout the whole song. So yeah, really, it was just me and my friend sitting in my bedroom, vibing, feeling really calm to that sort of initial low end bass guitar that you hear in the track.
yeah, well, I can almost imagine you guys in the scene of it, like with that song
Yeah.
and listening to it, because literally that I was so relaxed. I just was into it. I love that. I love kind of getting behind the scenes on some singles like that. So,
Yeah,
um,
that's I love to share those moments too because they're really special to me, you know, and
yeah,
they those moments are what end up leading me to create. So I also recently posted, I don't know if you saw on my Instagram, I recorded like part of my sort of creative process where I'm just jamming by myself on a loop station. And that's like typically I will spend a lot of time just like doing that. And so I just recently shared a video that's, I think it's like 7 or 8 minutes long, but you know, even just that jam, I kind of feel another, you know, record coming out of it. So yeah.
that it's so. I guess my question to that is, how is it in that realm, like actually knowing that this is the moment that I'm creating this track or I'm creating this record, like how is it in that little realm of yours?
Yeah, it's really I get really sucked into it. You know, it could honestly almost kind of forget about everything else and all that I can think of is that flow state. Where I feel
The
like I'm
flow,
sort
yeah.
of yeah, if it's a flow state and I'm sort of channeling things that just kind of come to me, you know, moments of inspiration or ideas or um, it was really interesting for me to watch back on that video I just posted I mentioned because I kind of go into this different, you know, I'm singing this one line and then I suddenly transition into another line and it's a completely different melody and I watched that and I was like, oh wow, that's really interesting. I like wasn't even aware that I was doing that. And so capturing those moments is really cool as well to sort of like reflect on it. But it's a total flow state. I mean, it's all I'm all consumed really. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I totally understand that. Just being in the flow, as actually a couple of us here at Ground Sound say, it's just being in that moment and kind of being aware of what's happening, and
Yeah.
it's really cool. It's definitely a really cool moment. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
Now, I have to, I'm gonna go a little bit off of music now. I do want to ask about some inspiration and stuff, but for right now, I want to ask, how is it? I believe it is correct. 6 different countries that you've lived in, correct?
Is it six? Honestly, I don't know the, the exact number off the top of my head, but yeah, I mean, I have lived in a lot of different countries. Let's say it's the US, the UK, Sweden, Kuwait, China, and Qatar. I was briefly there. My parents more so were living there at the time, but yeah, been around and
Yeah.
all within a pretty short amount of time.
Well, I guess my question with that is just being around so many different countries, so many different cultures that you've seen and different
Yeah.
people and really seeing that. How has that inspired your music and how have you brought that into your art?
Oh, it's been so incredible. I mean, just I think first of all, what the biggest impact of living in all of these countries and cultures is the impact that it's had on my uh, point of view and my empathy. I think one of the biggest things that I do as part of my music creation process is really tapping into other people's feelings. So, you know, that I think is one of the biggest parts. The other part, obviously, is just listening to a ton of different music. You get exposed to
Yeah.
all these different, you know, unique rhythms and scales. Like, I really like augmented scales and I usually throw in like obviously I kind of lean more sort of on the minor scale as I'm sure you've realized by listening to my album, but I also like kind of sevenths and whatever else. And you know, I realized I don't know a ton about music theory, but you know, I realized that it's probably because I spent you know, few of my informative years in the Middle East. And so you know, those rhythms and those scales, I really sort of enjoy them. um, and I think just not being closed-minded, you know, also generally as a person, but also musically, you know, like I am really open to a variety of ideas, a variety of genres. I don't like to tunnel vision myself, and I think as a also as a producer, to expose myself to different genres and to create in different genres, I think is just you know made for a more interesting project and more interesting things that I can do in the future. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's so I just had to I saw that when I was looking at reading this up and I just am interested, I guess, because you brought it up, you hit it head on. Perspective. It really
Yeah,
shows you a lot of different perspectives. Shows you a lot of different music and a lot of people like a lot of different directions that people are taking things. So no,
yeah.
that's really really cool.
And I
To
think
kind of go off of
collaboration
that. Oh, I'm so sorry.
too.
I'm so sorry for cutting you off. No.
No, no worries. I was just going to say, like, from a collaboration standpoint, too, being able to collaborate with people from different backgrounds and to communicate pretty easily because you've been exposed to a different language or a different culture. I think that's also really key because when you collaborate with people, like building rapport, that's also, it's really, you have to have that sort of chemistry, that creative chemistry with someone. And if it's harder for you to get to know someone just because you may have not been exposed to their country or their culture, that's going to make that more challenging too. So I'm definitely grateful for being exposed to all of that because I do think it's led me to collaborate with people that maybe I wouldn't have collaborated with otherwise.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely huge. And I really only have one last question for you. Being from being based now in Brooklyn, how is it with seeing all these different like the tradition of Brooklyn, just having all these different artists here that are huge, going from like Jay-Z, MGMT, um, Biggie Smalls, like all these different artists. Like, what inspiration are you drawing potentially from Brooklyn? But also, what inspirations did you draw as a child growing up?
Oh my gosh. I think, and maybe I don't know if it's as much Brooklyn as it is New York in general. But I think for maybe it's less about the inspiration and more about the mentality and the attitude and the sort of drive. It's New York, it's like you're, the saying, whatever it is, like if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. It's like everybody is just so ambitious and driven and talented and unique in their own ways. Like New York really has so much to offer, and so, like everyone is truly like the people I've met here are just incredible. And so I guess, yeah, from an inspiration standpoint, that's what's really inspired me from being based in Brooklyn and being able to go to all these different events and venues and all around New York. That's been what's really driving me. I think from the other countries, I think just borrowing sounds and tones from the different places where I've lived. Like sometimes when I write, I feel like I'm imagining myself in a different space. And like some of that has to do with, your ability to imagine is, based off of the knowledge that you already have and what you've been exposed to. And then you take that sort of one step further. But, sometimes I kind of think to myself like, oh, I'm in a wooden house, like in Sweden and sort of like towards the woods by the, whatever, like, and I'll have this sort of like picture image of it. And that's sort of what will set the tone of that song. Whereas, other songs will be like, oh, I'm in a underground nightclub in Brooklyn and like this is a vibe. And so that really inspires that tone. So yeah, I think that's really, it's like the context, and the feeling that you want to evoke from each track. I feel like I end up tying that back to the different locations.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's awesome. That's I'm blown away, honestly, Samantha. Thank you so much for coming on with us.
Thank you.
I'm super excited for this Friday, July 8th, which is her debut album, Days of E.N.D, coming out. Do you have anything else that you'd like to say before we sign off here?
No, just thank you for having me, and I'm really excited. And I love that you love We Are One. That makes me so happy.
I'm so happy that's your favorite song. That absolutely made my day. I love that track. I love the calmness of it, and thank you so much for sharing the moment of just how you and your friend kind of drew that together.
Yeah, yeah. No, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thanks for having me. It's great.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you, Samantha, so much. And guys, please go check out Days of End out this Friday, July 8th. There will be the full Grounds House interview right here on the website at groundshouse.com. You can check it out there. And Samantha, please enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you later, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff.